Hey everyone, it's Jason. Today we're going to go over the brand new game Runes and Regulations, a game of suburban sorcery. This is from the Unstable game series, makers of Unstable Unicorns and those games. So this very similar concept. Unstable Unicorns, you had to collect 7 magical unicorns, or Llamas Unleashed, which is their side expansion, which adds some different animals. You had to collect 7 different animals. This one, you just have to collect 5 magical creatures. Sounds easy. Well, there are there are regulations that you have to fight against. Show off the box here a little bit. So there's some other little steps in here to do. I'm going to kind of do some brief gameplay. So the idea is you're in a little neighborhood. So there's the HOSHA rules that you have to follow, Homeowners Association, and that kind of makes up the game. So it's going to come with some interesting stuff. It has a little spinner here. So during one of the turns, you have to spin this, and various effects happen. So it might make you add cards, discard cards, various other things. Another different thing, you're going to get a little fence. So every player gets one of these, and you'll place it like this in front of you, and you have special rune cards, which is the runes part of the title, that you put in your fence. Basically, they're enchanted items that you get to use throughout the game, but you always have them just sitting here, and you can be like, oh, well, I want to use it this time, and then you play it. So you got 4 of them. It's a 4-player game, or up to 4 players. You're also going to get these little shrub tokens. So what you can do throughout the game is called hexing your opponents, or possibly yours, if for some reason you'd want to, your mythical creatures, and turn them into a shrubbery. And when they are hexed or a shrub, they are no longer considered a creature. So what you will do is you will play various creatures out, such as the Sparkly Dragon, and they'll have different effects like triggers. When it enters your lawn, or on the table, you get to cast a spell. Or you might play a Rune-Eating Dragon. Such triggers: when a Rune Dragon enters the lawn, you destroy a ruin. There's various different ones. There are 4 main clans. There are dragons. There are unicorns. There are griffins. And there are Pegasus. There are also other special creatures, but there's only one of each type of those, such as a Kraken. And I'll show off the cards in a minute, or a hippogriff. So the only reason I mentioned that there's different, I guess, clans or different families of creatures is because there are some cards that will reference those specific creatures. So the other main part of the game we're learning about is the ruins. And the ruins have a different back than the creatures. So all creatures are considered magical creatures when they're played and they're on the field. If they get a shrub token on them, they're no longer considered a shrub token. But what's neat about this game is if something would remove this, your creature is considered to come back into play, so its ability activates again. So that's kind of a neat thing. So here's one of the runes. This would be a trigger when a neighbor would cast a spell, another player. You get to add that spell to your hand instead. So basically, you're using these grubby grabbers, these enchanted tongs, to steal your opponent's spells. And then, during the game, you would basically play with this trigger, sitting like this, and your lawn would be up here. And that's that way you can hold stuff. I think the idea is that way you're gonna have spell cards, you're gonna have creature cards in your hand, but you're only gonna have 3 ruins out at a time. So that way you don't have to sit here and keep shuffling all the time to figure out if you want to use your ruin or not. Basically, during your turn, you could essentially put your hand down and you know this is what you can activate when you can activate them. So there are 2 other types of cards in the game. These are spell cards, and they have the same backs as the mythical creatures. These are your one-time effects. So effect, no neighbor may activate a ruin during your summon phase this turn. So basically stops them from playing magic cards on you. So then we have regulation cards, and these are red. So every turn there will be one of these out, and they will have, this is the Homeowners Association, and they will have various effects. So Geras Sorcerers. All players may draw 2 cards during their draw phase. Hand limit is 5. So this is a beneficial one. So lets every player opt to draw an extra card during their draw phase, and then they can have more cards. Get a different one here. So we got number 14. There are 17 of these. So Geras Sorcerers. Each player may play with 3 or more mythical creatures on their lawn. Must skip their draw phase. So, because you need to have 5 creatures out, if this regulation is in play, once you have 3 or 4, you don't get to draw a card anymore. So if you don't have that 4th or 5th magical creature in your hand, as long as this is activated, you're not going to be drawing any more cards. So that's why it makes it harder. And like again, your opponents can shrub your tokens, hex your creatures, turn them into shrubs, and then they're not considered creatures. So even if you have 5 monster creatures out, if any of them have these on, they're not counted. So that's what makes it a little bit more difficult. But those are the 4 different cards. And you look through the rule book here, so they're just showing you a 5th one, you win. Hooray! So there's your cards on your fence, your creatures up there. You set up, which I explained. So that's how it's played. You set them all around there. They do have placemats that you could have bought. I didn't buy any. Spell cards, creature cards. I already went over all these. Various terms. Just kind of hold that for a second if you want to pause it. So one thing down here I do like where my thumb is. It says any player refers to any player including you. Any neighbor is anyone else. Each player is everybody. Each neighbor is everybody else. I like that it kind of specifies that. So during your turn you do the following things. Beginning of turn phase, if anything has a beginning of turn effect, you do that. So most of the time they'll probably be skipped. Just if no one has anything, you don't have to do anything. You have a draw phase, draw a card. Cast phase, you may cast a spell or you may draw a card. Summon phase, summon a creature, or you may draw a card. So again, if you don't have anything to cast, you might want to draw something. Don't have something to summon, you want to draw something. Then you spin the spinner. You may choose to skip the beginning of the turn, the cast phase, or the summon phase. But you always have to do the spin phase. No matter what. So basically, if you don't feel like... You always have to draw at least one card. But if you don't feel like casting anything or drawing that second time for step 3, don't. You don't want to summon or draw another card? Don't. In the beginning of the phase, you can skip if you want. You don't have to. But you can't go back. So if, like, you draw your card, decide not to cast, but you summon a creature, they're like, ooh, now I have a card I can cast, you've already skipped it. One other thing that's interesting about this game, and it's specified here, specified elsewhere too, is you can technically bring a creature onto your lawn from your hand. And it's the second time they've mentioned it in the book. So once again, you can technically summon a creature to your neighbor's lawn, but why? So that is actually neat. When you summon a creature, you can summon it to your side, or you can put it on one of your opponents. There's very few reasons why you'd ever want to do that. There's probably like one card or a certain situation that might be helpful, or the expansion might add something to it. But generally, there's no reason to do that. Now, the one part that's kind of weird in the game is that the spinner. And I only say it's weird because you basically have to have this book out to do this. They didn't put it on the spinner. They didn't give a reference card that says what it does. You can just have sitting on the table. So I kind of don't like that you have to basically have the book sitting out to do this. But when you do the spinner, you get a couple different effects. Get a new ruin, hex one of your creatures, return a pet, draw a new regulation, discard a card, or spin for an event. And then if you get to 6 and you spin for an event, here's a bunch of other stuff that happens. You get to do a bunch of different things. It's a neat little twist in the game, though, instead of just I play a card, you play a card, I play a card. Oh, well, I went first, so I played 5 creatures first. There's also a summoning limit. This is an interesting effect of the game. You may only summon 3 creatures on a turn. So here, that's another thing, just so you can't like mass super powerful things. So if you gain 3 or more mythical creatures on your turn, you must destroy 1 at the end of your turn. So they're showing here, turn 1, you started with 1 creature. By the end of the turn, this one will become hexed, so it's no longer considered a creature. But they summoned 3, and they stole 1. So they ended the turn with 4 new creatures. So they had these 4, minus the 1, because it's hexed, so it's no longer a creature. So they have more than 3, so they have to sacrifice 1. So it's basically keeping you from massing a giant combo, playing 4 or 5 creatures in a turn. Because then you keep having to lose 1. Hang limit, rune limit, play a ruin, draw a new ruin. The rule breaking. There's advanced rules that just go into more detail about things that would happen. Order of resolution. I'm not going to hover on these too much. But it's cool that they actually put some good descriptions in there of this stuff. Lots of games don't do that. You just kind of figure stuff out. So here, a good description of the game is a 2 to 4 player strategic card game that combines aggressiveness of the Horde of Dragons with the passive aggressiveness of a suburban unicorn. Immerse yourself in the world of magic and the mundane by summoning mythical pets and casting powerful spells, all from the comfort of your home. So that is Runes in Regulation. I'll just keep this as a how-to video. I will do a second video, so check that out, which will actually go through the contents, showing off each of the cards in the game. Now we'll do a third video with the expansion that will be coming out eventually. Or it might have been a Kickstarter expansion. I'm not clear on that. I will check that out when I do that video. Check you guys later.